Hi everyone, my name is Rahul and I like to welcome you in my podcast Talking Through. In Talking Through, we invite experts from various industries and they come here and answer your queries and concerns with respect to navigating your careers. Our senior experts share their experience and give some sort of guidance with respect to how you can choose a new career or how you can enhance and upskill yourself to do better in your existing career. So to start this journey, I like to invite one of our prominent guests, Ujjwal. Ujjwal, thank you so much for your time and I like to welcome to you this podcast.
Thank you.
थैंक यू। सो सबसे पहले मैं आपसे ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि आप अपने बारे में सबसे पहले हमारे ऑडियंस को कुछ बता सकते हैं। आप करंटली किस इंडस्ट्री में, किस कंपनी में वर्क कर रहे हैं और आपका ओवरऑल एक्सपीरियंस कैसा रहा? देन वी कैन प्रोसीड फर्दर।
Currently, I'm working in Amazon. So I have been working for approximately 4 years, or I'm from tech background only. तो मैंने computer science में B.Tech करी थी in 2020. तो since then I have been at Amazon only.
Okay. From which institute you have done?
I did it from NSIT Netaji Subhash Institute of Technology. It's in Dwarka.
Okay. And how you got this particular job? Through campus placement or you have applied for the job?
राइट तो कंपनी विजिटेड इन 2019 फॉर इंटर्नशिप पर्पस तो तब मैंने इंटर्नशिप के लिए अप्लाई कराया था थ्रू माई कैंपस ओनली
ओके
एंड देन इंटर्नशिप पे परफॉर्मेंस बेसिस पे आई गॉट द पीपीओ तो आई गॉट द ऑफर फ्रॉम देम एंड 2020 में मैंने ज्वाइन किया था
Great. And how was the overall campus placement process? For our audience, I'm not sure ज़्यादातर लोगों को पता होगा campus placement क्या होता है और overall process, selection process क्या होता है. So I really like to know about the selection process. उसके लिए आपने prepare कैसे किया? How you cracked that particular interview?
राइट तो बेसिकली व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि बिफोर द कंपनी विजिट्स द कॉलेज तो वो कॉलेज में एक प्लेसमेंट सेल होगा देयर वुड बी सम डिपार्टमेंट इन कॉलेज जो ये सब हैंडल करते हैं दे विल प्रोवाइड जनरली कि किस पोजीशन के लिए आ रहे हैं एंड डिपेंडिंग ऑन द कॉलेज ऑलरेडी सीनियर से पता चली जाता है सबको कि ये कंपनीज आती हैं एंड दिस इज द फॉर्मेट तो इन माई केस दे विजिटेड फॉर सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपर इंजीनियर जॉब and it is the standard जो tech companies होती है product companies they usually visit for the similar title software developer engineer के लिए it's a hectic process actually क्योंकि within a short span of time बहुत सारी companies आती है and you need to and there's a similar structure to all the interviews more or less तो बार बार उसी procedure को go through करना एंड रिजल्ट का वेट करना कैसा आया देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ एक्सपेक्टेशंस जो दोस्त भी पूछते हैं फैमिली भी पूछती है तो you need to go through that cycle again and again but it's more of a persistence thing कि अगर लगे रहो तो हो ही जाता है टॉकिंग अबाउट कि इंटरव्यू का स्ट्रक्चर कैसा होता है तो फॉर द टेक प्लेसमेंट स्पेशली जो प्रोडक्ट कंपनीज होती है लाइक फेसबुक अमेजॉन गूगल इस तरह की जितनी कंपनीज होती है दे हैव अ सिमिलर स्ट्रक्चर फॉर कैंपस प्लेसमेंट where there would be multiple rounds जिसमें से maximum will be focused on the coding round. Coding specifically refers to there's something called as DSA, data structures and algorithms. There are 1 or 2 subjects taught in college about that. उससे related questions होते हैं most of the time. तो all the students जो already tech colleges में गए हैं they know कि what is that this is the major chunk जो हमेशा interview के लिए dedicated होता है what would happen is कि पहले बहुत सारे hundreds of students बैठेंगे within the campus also तो company will usually have a online round जिसमें they will mostly have DSA questions कुछ companies में maybe English या logic questions there may be some questions from the computer science के ही core subjects जो engineering के core होते हैं like networking operating systems इस तरीके के subjects पे questions होते हैं once तो उसके basis पे they will select a certain number of students 10 20 30 जितना भी they have the scope कि कितने लेके जाने हैं then the student will go through the rounds जिसमें से in my experience most of the rounds for the freshers is based on DSA only there will be an interviewer assigned to that जो उन्हें कोई DSA का question देगा there are some DSA में होता क्या है कि mostly computer science से ही related कुछ structures और algorithms पे जो basic structures and algorithms होते हैं उन पे question frame कर आते हैं maybe some real life example पे and the student has to give the solution कि इसको इस तरीके से solve कर सकते हैं थ्रू कोड इस तरीके से अचीव की जा सकती है फॉर एवरी राउंड आफ्टर एवरी राउंड जो डिफ़िकल्टी होती है क्वेश्चंस की इंक्रीज होती रहती है and this is the basic structure. कुछ companies may also ask for system design, which is very rare for the freshers, and finally कोई HR round related भी हो सकता है where they see the culture fit of the student. So this is the overall structure for the campus placement.
Great. और फॉर एग्जांपल कई सारे स्टूडेंट्स ड्यूरिंग देयर लास्ट ईयर अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस कैंपस प्लेसमेंट वो एमबीए के लिए भी कैट के लिए भी प्रिपेयर कर रहे होते हैं. आई गेस इसका जो ओवरऑल स्ट्रक्चर है अपार्ट फ्रॉम द टेक्निकल पार्ट काफ़ी हेल्प करता होगा इन केस समवन इज प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर कैट और समथिंग, वो करिकुलम फॉलो अगर कर रहे हैं. Does that sort of preparation help, or an individual need to prepare from the scratch for these sort of interviews basis on the background of the company and the role they are applying for?
आई वुड से कि थोड़ा सा डिफर कर जाता है क्योंकि द कोर थिंग्स विच टेक इंटरव्यूज विल बी फोकस्ड ऑन that are not exactly replicated within the CAT preparation के लिए. There will be a difference on it. हाँ, but one thing which happens is that more or less जो computer science है, it has base in maths and there's a lot of logic involved there. तो जो एक लॉजिक बिल्डिंग ऑन प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग की हैबिट होती है, आई वुड से दैट इंक्रीजेस. बट इफ यू थिंक कि जो क्वेश्चंस का स्ट्रक्चर जो कैट इंटरव्यूज में होता है, इट वुड बी द सेम एज द टेक प्लेसमेंट. इट्स नॉट सेम एक्चुअली.
Correct. And any specific advice or like some sort of cheat sheet from your end for our viewers कि इसको कैसे क्रैक करना है? हर चीज़ के लिए लोग अपने अपने कुछ फैक्ट्स बनाते हैं, राइट? तो आपने भी अपना कुछ प्रिपेयर किया होगा, मस्ट हैव फॉलोड सम स्पेसिफिक गाइडलाइंस बिफोर द इंटरव्यू.
राइट. सो आई वुड से कि एक्चुअली जो टेक इंटरव्यू होता है उसकी प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट्स मंथ्स बिफोर. क्योंकि मोस्ट फोकस जो डीएसए पर होता है, दैट इज समथिंग विच वी डोंट रियली the kind of problem solving approach which it requires is totally different which we have gone through before.
So I believe जैसा हम colleges में और school में जो curriculum पढ़ते हैं, that is not focused on problem solving, right? So maybe it's an inherited thing into you or someone who easily cracks such kind of interviews. तो जिन लोगों में नहीं है तो उनको क्या प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग से रिलेटेड जो कुछ केस स्टडीज होती हैं, क्या वो भी करना चाहिए? वो हेल्प करता है इंटरव्यू क्रैक करने में?
सो व्हाट विल हैपन इज कि डीएसए प्रिपरेशन के लिए क्या होता है, फर्स्ट द पर्सन नीड्स टू अंडरस्टैंड द फंडामेंटल्स के क्वेश्चंस किन चीज़ों पर आते हैं. सो देयर इज अ सर्टेन सेट ऑफ एल्गोरिदम्स जो कंप्यूटर साइंस में होते हैं. सो द पर्सन शुड बी अवेयर ऑफ, अच्छा ये एल्गोरिदम ऐसा होता है, दिस इज हाउ इट वर्क्स, दिस इज हाउ इट इज कोडेड, इसके pros and cons क्या है, what is the complexity of the algorithm in terms of space and time. And कुछ data structures होते हैं which are like logical grouping of data जो which we do while writing code, जो computer through which we can manipulate to run some processes on it. Now what happens is कि first of all student needs to get the fundamental, and I would say कि it's better अगर students start in the early years of the college. सिर्फ placement से कुछ महीने पहले जाके करना will be a bit difficult. And colleges will be having some semesters, some few subjects within the semester dedicated to it anyway. तो उस समय fundamentals.
So it has to be a continuous learning and evolving process. It should not be the case कि interview के 2-3 महीने पहले आप कर रहे हैं. That will not help.
Right. It will not help. Actually होता क्या है कि there would be DSA is something which become there is no limit to it कि हम कितना ज़्यादा solve कर सकते हैं. The complexity of the questions could reach, there are international competitions also जिसके ऊपर based होते हैं. And once the students get into it, they will realize कि this is the most competitive thing actually जहाँ पे computer science में लोग करते हैं. To get into the jobs. Once the fundamentals are cleared actually, so they need to start solving questions. So there are some dedicated websites for it. कुछ dedicated platforms होते हैं like Lead Code, Geeks for Geeks. These are very famous ones. जहाँ पे the questions are there, the person needs to go write the code to solve the question, then analyze it, and they submit the question, and the platform runs the code, and पीछे कुछ test cases होते हैं to check whether the code is correct or not.
Got it.
And then they also give them and once they solve it, they also provide them the solution. वहाँ पे बहुत अच्छा discussion होते हैं where all the engineers are commenting कि ऐसे भी code लिखा जा सकता है. These are the approaches. So but this is a continuous process कि बार बार करना पड़ेगा. And I have seen कि जब से मैंने ज्वाइन करा है तब से अब तक जो फोकस है बहुत ज़्यादा इंक्रीज हो गया है डीएसए पे. एंड नाउ एवरीवन नोस कि क्या करना चाहिए. अर्लियर व्हाट यूज्ड टू हैपन वाज कि जो मेजर टेक कंपनीज थी, दे यूज्ड टू विजिट लिमिटेड नंबर ऑफ कॉलेजेस एंड वहाँ के स्टूडेंट्स को पता था कि दिस इज अपने सीनियर से कि ऐसे ऐसे प्रिपेयर करना है. नाउ दिस हैज़ बिकम रियली ओपन एंड अब सबको पता है कि दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ प्रिपरेशन विच वी नीड टू डू एंड स्टूडेंट्स मतलब आई वुड से कि दे इन्वेस्ट अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम, 1-2 साल तो लगाते ही है टू गेट गुड इन टू DSA एंड वो इंटरव्यू को क्रैक करने के लिए. But DSA is a one piece of the interview, but I still believe it is the major piece to crack it for freshers. Once you grow older, then you can show your work, but जब तक experience नहीं है, you need to have it.
Right.
Another piece which I have seen is something called as development, जो colleges में बोलते हैं. So one thing is DSA, another thing is development. Development actually means कि there are different frameworks, there are different technologies, and whether the student has learned it and created something out of it. Correct. For example, कोई website या कोई application.
Any live project.
Right.
Practical
live
implementation
yes,
of their
yes,
knowledge.
something like this. AI, ML, in सब पे भी the student can make their projects. And within the interview, the interviewee may be the interviewer may be interested in knowing कि अच्छा तुमने क्या बनाया है, what was the process. It also helps in to get into the thought process of it.
Correct.
But जितना मैंने देखा है कि when it's about the campus placement होता है, the focus is on DSA and development पे उतना नहीं होता. It could be a plus point. But when it's off campus, then तो दोनों ही चाहिए होते हैं. You need to have good in development also and in DSA also. There's a third component also called as system design. What system design means is कि there would be a practical question जैसे कि Facebook के बारे में कि अगर Facebook को scratch से बनाना हो तो क्या design हो सकता है. There would be few services जो ऐसा काम, there would be a service which will handle the posting of the messages, कहीं पे picture upload करने के लिए there would be a ML recommendation algorithms, multiple things जो होगी. So the students is expected to come with a rough design और उसके ऊपर we can see कि उसके computer science fundamentals कितने strong होते हैं. This is rare for the freshers, but given कि अब competition tight होता जा रहा है, I've seen some companies have also started asking questions about it.
Correct. So these are the 3 important steps.
Right.
Correct. Or in case just a vague question, for example, 3 candidates हैं जिनको shortlist किया finally. And that particular company जो उनको लेना चाहती है, they are really puzzled, they are not able to comprehend कि किसको लेना है. उसमें से एक टेक्निकली बहुत साउंड है, सारे राउंड्स में अच्छा किया है, एक टेक्निकली अच्छा है लेकिन शायद वो कंपनी कल्चरल फिट नहीं लग रहा है उनको, और तीसरा जो है वो प्रैक्टिकल इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में या डिज़ाइन वाले पार्ट में अच्छा नहीं किया है. सो अगर ऐसा कोई कन्फ्यूजन वाला स्टेट होता है तो एज फार एज योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग कंपनीज कैसे लोगों को सिलेक्ट करें? व्हाट विल बी द फर्स्ट क्राइटेरिया? टेक्निकल एक्सपर्टीज और कंपनी फिट और मिक्स ऑफ दैट?
I think it's actually a mix of both, but tech could be having a slightly higher advantage in it.
Okay.
क्योंकि tech is something जो हम quantify कर सकते हैं very
Absolutely.
easily. But culture fit, it's actually
behavioral issue can be changed,
right.
maybe mentorship or something.
And it's also कि 30 minutes में it's very difficult to know कि
yes, difficult to assess.
Right. तो I have also seen कि अब companies culture fit exactly इस term से भी they are moving on, and it's more of related to उनका जो overall aspiration होते हैं company की, whether the candidates fit into or not. बट फ्रेशर्स के लिए आई हैव सीन कि टेक इज द मोस्ट थिंग, क्योंकि बाकी सब तो सिखाई देते हैं.
करेक्ट. ग्रेट. अब थोड़ा सा पीछे चलते हैं. तो आपके कैंपस प्लेसमेंट इंटरव्यू की बात हुई. मैं जानना चाहता हूँ कि आप हमेशा से सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग बैकग्राउंड में जाना चाहते थे? क्योंकि स्कूल में क्या होता है कि जब आप 5th क्लास में होते हो तो आप शायद पुलिसमैन बनना चाहते हो, 8th क्लास में आप पायलट बन जाते हो, उसके बाद आप सिविल सर्विस में. तो आपका भी ये चॉइस टाइम के साथ इवॉल्व हुई है या बचपन से ही कोई एस्पिरेशन था, कोई बहुत आप किसी से मिले और इंस्पायर हो गए कि मुझे तो सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग में जाना है? क्या कहानी है इसके पीछे?
आई डिड नॉट हैव मच इंटरेस्ट इन सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट. तब पता भी नहीं होता था अच्छा सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपर ऐसा कुछ है.
राइट.
एंड कोडिंग एज सच कोई एक फेमस हॉबी या वाज नॉट अ स्किल जो अब तो मैं देखता हूँ स्कूल में भी पीपल लर्न अर्ली ऑन, बट तब भी नहीं होता था. सो देयर वाज नॉट मच इंटरेस्ट. मेरा इंटरेस्ट ये था कि हाँ पैसे कमाने हैं एंड वट एवर जॉब हैज दैट वी विल डू दैट. एंड वंस यू स्टार्ट गेटिंग इन टू 9th standard, at least in my time now, I think it starts happening from 6th class itself. There is something कि अच्छा 9th-10th में person has to start thinking कि मुझे कौन सी stream में जाना है. And once you start deciding कि कौन सी stream में जाना है, the number of careers, the goal careers also get limited. So I selected PCM, physics, chemistry, maths. So it's implied somehow कि engineering करनी है.
Correct.
And within the engineering, the best thing is the computer science. So from there, I started funneling into computer science itself. And what I have generally seen is क्योंकि tech industry in general pays more जो early in the career, and it's also easier. There are more job opportunities actually, which make it slightly easier to get into. So वो natural flow software की तरफ जाता रहा, क्योंकि जो seniors थे और people who had the similar kind of temperament and marks like me, वो भी उसी direction में move करते थे, तो वो naturally मैं भी उसी flow में move करता
Correct,
गया.
correct. And about your schooling, आप कैसे student थे? Are you a meritorious student or average?
I was a good student. So I scored good. So it was from the I would say starting only. I was good in studies. So initially तो ज़्यादा बचपन में होता भी नहीं है. It's like the similar thing कि अच्छा interest है तो चलता रहेगा. So it was that kind of thing. I would say I was a good student overall. I was a disciplined kind of student, जैसा teachers expect करती है. Not I did not give much headache to anyone. That kind of student.
Correct, correct. और जब आपका कैंपस प्लेसमेंट आई गेस इट वाज अमेजोन, राइट?
Right.
सो अमेजोन के अलावा और कोई से प्लेयर्स थे जिन्होंने आपको सिलेक्ट किया, और हाउ अगर आपने को मल्टीपल ऑफर्स थे तो आपने कैसे जीरो डाउन किया कि प्रोफाइल में आप इंटरेस्टेड थे, कंपनी में थे, और एनी अदर रीजन?
Actually होता क्या है कि once the company visit, colleges have limited number of companies visiting and their target is कि सबकी placement लग जाए. तो there is a general rule जो बहुत सारी colleges में होता है, एक ही बार बैठना है, and once you get selected into it तो वहीं पर
You are
ही
not
हो
allowed
जाता है.
to sit in any other.
तो when starting की जो कुछ companies थी, I was not able to get into them. बट जब तक मेरा नंबर आया वो अमेजोन थी, एंड आई गॉट सिलेक्टेड, तो मेरा फिर वहाँ से हट ही गया फ्रॉम दी टोटल रोल कि जाना है. देन देयर इज एन ऑप्शन ऑफ कैंपस प्लेसमेंट, बट आई डिड नॉट ट्राई फॉर इट क्योंकि अमेजोन वाज समथिंग व्हिच आई वांटेड, तो देयर वाज नो नीड टू ट्राई मोर.
Understood. And how was your early days in Amazon? How was the overall orientation process, initial training, any challenges you have faced? So I just like to get some sense of if anyone is going for a campus placement, he got some campus placement, is there any specific type of preparation, additional preparation they need to do before joining the company so that they can feel more comfortable and adjusted out there?
Right. So what happens is कि once the team is finalized कि अच्छा company में भी आ गए, this is the team which you will be working with, they will be sharing the details of the manager, and the person can reach out to the manager.
So manager will act as a mentor, or there will be some other step?
Actually manager will assign one mentor within the
Okay.
team, which may be a few years more experienced than the intern or the new guy also, if it's a fresher. So the person can start interaction with manager to get the idea कि अच्छा कुछ prepare करने की ज़रूरत है या नहीं. But more or less I have seen कि वहीं जाकर ही people get fully trained. So there is not much required from the student side. If they have cracked the interview, they are definitely, they know enough to start working on the job. And once you get in the job, 1 or 2 days are like more of a cultural orientation kind of thing, where we get to know कि Amazon, what is the culture at the Amazon.
Correct. Culture, values.
Right, the
future
values, the
propositions.
principles which the Amazon have, and followed by the mentors will be assigned, and the manager will also guide the fresher कि अच्छा this is the team, this is how we work, and but the more or less the duty will be on the mentor to help them out. Usually what will happen is that the team, it may vary with the team, but the team will have sort of a checklist which the fresher has to go through. Usually what happens is कि हर team के पास एक dedicated system होता है which they need to handle. It's more of about the software developer engineers. They will be have a system जिसके बारे में they will have the documentation कि अच्छा system ऐसे काम करता है, this is the client, these are the challenges, this is the scale, and everything is documented there. The fresher is expected to go through, learn about the system, ask questions about it.
Correct.
And once they get the idea, they start assigning small tasks to them कि अच्छा maybe go within the code और ये change कर दो वहाँ पे, we want this thing, and it starts small. And once they get the hang of it कि process क्या है software development की, once they understand the process, they will start giving them the business problems कि अच्छा ये problem आ रही है, let's solve this. Then it happens within like I would say first month to 1 year वो training sort of चलती ही रहती है, where they keep on increasing the scope of the problems which the person is supposed to learn. होता क्या है, there is a disconnect between what we learn in the college and what is actually needed within the
we have to
job.
unlearn some of the
Right.
things.
So the approach of how software has to be developed, वो within the 1 year the fresher learns. But I would say कि they support from the team usually. So इस तरह की कोई problem आती नहीं है. If you are able to crack the interview, I see that people are able to perform well in the job also.
Most of the people.
Yeah, most of the people.
Any example without taking any name? Maybe there are some rare cases wherein people who have performed well in the interview round got selected in big companies, but due to some or other reason they are not able to perform well or up to the expectation in the practical world. So any specific reason you have seen behind that, and how anyone can overcome if someone is going through and watching this particular podcast? Any advice from your end to just keep themselves motivated maybe during their tough times?
Right. So if I talk in general, when I have seen this happening is with my friends, my juniors. Interview can test only a particular set of skills of the person.
True.
Now what happens is that students focus on maximizing on those skills कि अच्छा मेरा DSA सिस्टम डिज़ाइन डेवलपमेंट पे टेस्ट होना है तो लेट मी मैक्सिमाइज दिस, एंड उनका फोकस वहीं पर ही होता है. एंड दी ओवरऑल प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग एस्पेक्ट जो एक पर्सन का डेवलप होना चाहिए एज वेल एज द सॉफ्ट स्किल्स दे आर नॉट डेवलप्ड एज सच. सो व्हेन दे गेट इनटू जॉब में वही सारे skills are not exactly getting tested. There's developing a software is more of a tech plus soft skill kind of thing. And when this disconnect happens, जहाँ पे the person has only focused on learning the DSA को मैं maximize कर लेता हूँ my skill and let's not focus on other thing, the disconnect happens within the job and the person is not able to fare that much well within the job. I have seen it happening with my juniors from the college also. People reach out regarding this problem. More or less, I have seen कि tech तो सब कर ही लेते हैं. The thing is whether the person has worked on the soft skills also or not.
Understood.
Because developing software is like a collective approach. It's a team approach. कि you can't just think कि जैसे movies में दिखाते कि एक hoodie पहन के एक introvert वहाँ पे code कर रहा है and something कर रहा है.
It's
never
not the
like
real
that.
world, right?
Right. It's exactly totally
There is a team
different.
working on different set of jigsaw puzzle, and when they combine it, then you can deliver some solution to your client.
Correct. It's supposed
Everyone
to
is
be
working on different modules, I believe.
Yes. And you know what happens is कि modules are different but they are interconnected.
Yes.
And also होता क्या है, every person thinks that उनकी approach better है, तो how you know come on the table discuss कि अच्छा कौन सी approach is actually better, समझाना, all this requires soft skills.
And at this particular point, yes, you rightly mentioned your soft skills, how you convince or just take all the team members along and then move on. Those sort of maybe leadership skills up to some extent and soft skills.
Agreed.
Both these things will matter.
Yes, and I would definitely say कि when it comes to getting promoted in the career, तो project delivery more or less people are able to make if they are dedicated enough towards the job. What actually matters is क्योंकि soft skills कैसी थी, because once you start getting in the higher positions, the scope of your project as well as how big part of the team I'm influencing वो भी बढ़ता जाता है.
Correct.
So at that time the soft skills become very important for the person. But if the person is only focused on कि हाँ मैं सिर्फ software ही लिखूंगा, then that's not actually what software development is.
Need to upskill ourselves depending on what is the business need.
Yes.
Correct. And during the course of time, I just like to know how you have evolved as a person, right? While working in a world-class company, the kind of facilities, exposure, and other things you are getting, how this has changed your life, the way you are currently looking at the world.
I would say कि before I was in the job, I was a very introvert kind of guy. I still am. But once you start in the job and you need to start working on the soft skills with the people, I naturally grow there because you get a lot of opportunities जहाँ पे अपनी टीम के साथ भी काम करना है. You need to work with cross team people also, which may be sitting across the ocean.
Yes. And maybe sometimes with clients, maybe for a brief discussion or some clarification.
Right, it could be anything.
Yes.
So it requires that kind of temperament with the person, whether they are confident enough to keep their point. ऐसा ना हो that वो बस सुनकर आ जाए कि अच्छा ऐसा ऐसा करना है, and you can't keep your point.
Yes.
So it was something which I faced with, क्योंकि I was also more or less introvert initially, so but with the help of my team I was able to grow. So now so that is the major aspect of professional life which I would say I've grown with. Another thing is talking about the technical aspect. I have grown कि at a scale software कैसे बनाना चाहिए. It's different to write a software जो जैसे स्कूल में when और कॉलेज में जब हम बनाते हैं, it's like we are just running and showing to the teacher. But compared to when you have to create a software for 1,000 people, 10,000 people, to like hundreds millions of people, there is a shift in the thinking which you need to have. The software does not need to perform, it need to perform correctly for the client. And when the transition is happening कि पहले client को क्या दिखता था, अब क्या दिखता है, you need to think backward, शुरू से लेके end तक.
Absolutely.
When we are in college, मैं बस एक problem solve कर रहा हूँ, एक tech problem. But when we are in a job, we are having a business problem.
True.
तो मुझे client को center में रखते हुए, अब imagining myself as the client, मुझे वहाँ से backward जाना पड़ता है कि what is actually needed with the project.
Right.
When we are young, when we are a fresher, they assign us project कि तुम जाके ये करो. एंड दे टोटली स्कोप इट डाउन कि ये सर्विस है, यहाँ पे जाके इतना कोड लिखना है, ऐसा करना है. बट व्हेन यू ग्रो इन द करियर, जो मैंने सीखा है कि द प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट्स बिकम्स एम्बिगुअस एंड कॉम्प्लेक्स. उनका स्कोप तो बढ़ ही जाते हैं, द स्कोप ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस, बट दे ऑल्सो बिकम एम्बिगुअस. यू डोंट नो कि करना क्या है. You only get the business problem and then you need to translate into the tech problem. Then सबको जाके समझाना कि this is the problem, ये technical pieces है, bringing everyone on the same page. This is something which I have learned through my software journey.
That's great. That's great. So during your career journey so far, any fulfilling moment or any inspiring thing, maybe some of your senior has praised you for something, or any reward recognition you must have received which really moved you or inspire you to work hard in this particular field and stay long, maybe in this company?
I would say the best motivation which I have got is through the promotion and the appraisal which you get with the time. The best thing was कि which I like about my company is कि if you are working, then you are getting the reward and recognition for it. So the more the time you put, the more complex and ambiguous problem you solve, the faster you can climb up on the ladder and get the promotion, get the appraisals. So and it's like systematic. It's not कि हाँ देखते 3-4 साल बाद क्या होगा. It's like a yearly thing. There are regular checks with the manager you need to work with. And you can visualize कि मेरा कहाँ
process is really crystal clear and transparent, and if someone is really performing well, definitely they will get the particular result out of it.
Right. So for me, the promotion which I got when I got promoted to SD2, that was, so it happened I guess within 1.5 years for me.
Is that like a fast track promotion based on your performance, or it's a normal course?
I would say it's slightly faster kind of thing. I've usually seen it happening with 2 to 3 years. So it was a bit faster, but it can also change with the team. There are some organizations within the Amazon which may have like expectation ki the scope is different and they expect the person to work for the longer years. It could be anything. In my case, I would say it was slightly on the faster side.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And if I talk about solving real life problems for your clients, any anecdote or any story you like to mention wherein you have solved some complex problem, or anything which has like a life-changing moment in terms of giving some solution to client, any story in that regard?
One anecdote which I have is that there was what happens is my team handles the tracking aspect of the Amazon, that where the package is. Now sometimes what can happen is that there was an email raised by a client where they mentioned that they had ordered a casket for some family member. There was a death in the family, and the casket was what happened was they were seeing that the date of the funeral was near, but the tracking did not show that the casket was moving forward, and it showed and it led to confusion for them whether it will get actually delivered or not. So this is one problem which I was able to visualize, that whatever we actually do, there is a lot of emotions which are involved with the people, and analyzing what was actually happening, how to fix it. That was a totally different story. But this is the point, it happened very, I guess, within the first year for me, and I was able to understand that whatever we do at Amazon, it actually touches people. It's very different sitting behind the computer and looking at the code, and it's very different that how much the company and our work can touch the life of the people. So that is one of the story I had.
Correct, correct. And currently you are working as an individual contributor, or you are handling a team, or you are mentoring some of your junior colleagues?
So I'm at SD2 position. What happens is that it is an IC position. It is individual contributor.
Okay.
But since we work in a team, SD2 is expected. Across the industry, it is the same thing. It's expected that you will start mentoring the juniors. So what will happen is there would be sometimes the person would be assigned to me, like an intern comes, so I will become something the official mentor. And sometime what will happen is I'm the unofficial mentor for the juniors which are within the team.
Right.
If there's a project given to me where 3-4 people are working, and I am like the most experienced person there, so even if I'm not officially called, I'm not officially given a title of a mentor, it becomes understood that I will be mentoring everyone. And how I will be judged will also depend whether I help them to grow or not.
Correct, correct. Based on their performance, how they are growing,
Right.
your seniors will definitely monitor that and add that into your end year performance.
Yes, exactly. They will analyze whether I was able to help others grow or not. Because the higher you reach into the ladder, the influence increases. So they
Absolutely.
expect that everyone grows with you.
Correct, correct. And you must have worked with several managers or senior person in your organization so far. Any special kind of skill or any leadership quality you have seen in those people? Because for the audience perspective, I like to know if you are working in any company, not in Amazon or any global company or any Indian company. What kind of leadership qualities an individual need to develop to move up to the ladder, and the way they manage their subordinates has to be like fair, simple, and a square process. So any thing which you have learned from your seniors so far?
So one skill which I have seen which the seniors and the leadership has is that they are able to identify what when a discussion is happening, what are the preconceived notions which everyone has, and they are able to challenge it. So what will happen is if there is a problem happening or there's some project and there are different teams on the table discussing this thing, everyone comes with some preconceived notions. Okay, maybe the problem is this has to be done, and this things like this. And when the discussion happens, there may be a disconnect and people don't realize that it is actually happening. Maybe the person is saying something else, but I'm perceiving it as something different because I have my own ideas about it. The leaders are actually, and I'm sometimes shocked when I hear the questions from the leaders. The questions are so basic and so fundamental to it, but it like challenges whatever the discussion has happened currently. They are able to challenge that we are actually, everyone has their own thought process, and maybe that's why the disconnect is happening. So this thing, that figuring out what is the root cause, what is the basic thing which we are discussing, and having the questions on that so that everyone comes on the same page before moving forward, this is a skill I have seen that leadership has.
They know the art, how to get best out of each and every individual while asking or probing different sort of questions.
Yes.
They know that particular art. And have you ever faced, it's like a personal question to you, have you ever faced like a situation wherein someone is really biased towards you? How you handle that sort of situation, or any advice for budding professionals if they come across such kind of situation, if they are performing well but they are still facing, or they think that they are not treated in an equal way, some senior person is biased toward them, how they should go about that particular situation?
Actually, in my case, I have been lucky that I have not faced this situation. I have worked under different managers, but never really had that thing. And that is something which I really liked about the company, and motivated me to stay there. But what I have seen happening is, what I advise give to whoever reaches out to me, that it's not worth it fighting that bias for a long time, because the playing field is not leveled. If someone is biased against you, you need to first put a lot of effort to reach to the same level as he is treating others, and only after that you can start moving forward in the career. Instead, it's always better, since there are jobs there, and there are a lot of opportunities, so it's always better to just change and start playing there, and you will get a fresh start. It is both career wise and mentally also, it's give you a peace instead of staying at the same place.
Correct. And now we can move to some different sort of questions or some different perspective. If I ask you about the overall tech industry, how this industry is set up, and if someone is currently studying maybe in their third or fourth year of engineering, maybe software engineering or any different domain, if they like to join companies like Amazon, IBM, or maybe Wipro or other top companies, what different kind of opportunities are present in current world, right? Maybe it's in coding, software development, or maybe related to AI, ML, because I just like to know different sort of options for our viewers, because nobody is very lucky, or maybe I would say it, I'm not trying to relate it to their intelligence, but at times luck also takes part, or maybe a campus placement hasn't come to some of the institute. They need to go to open market and apply. So they should know what all different sort of options, because traditionally there are limited options, but nowadays the way technology is evolving, there are multiple options. So since you are from the field, I like to know for our viewers what kind of additional skill they can acquire, additional certifications they can do beyond their normal graduation or PG to apply and get themselves like prepared for those sort of new opportunities.
I would say that actually the best thing which person can do is reach out to the people who are actually working in those companies through LinkedIn, and then start getting the idea from them. What usually happen is that there are different segments of the companies within the industry. There's something called as product based companies,
Okay.
something called as service based companies, then there are the entire startup culture which is there. So there are different parts of the industries may be looking for a different kind of candidate. In some of the industries, they expect that the person will have the general problem solving skills. It could be the product companies I have seen. In the case of startups, I have seen that they want a person who already knows the technology which they are working on, because they want the person to start early. Whereas in big companies, they feel more like that the person first goes through the process, starts learning their culture, and then start contributing within the for them. So the best thing would be that early, when once you get into the college, first talk with the seniors and figure out that what are the companies which visit and what is the kind of preparation which they expect from the candidate. That is the first part, because on-campus placements in general are easier than the off-campus placement, because within the campus you are competing with like 400, 500 people. Correct. But off-campus is like everyone. So the best thing would be first interact with the seniors early within the college, that what kind of preparation is needed. Second would be to start reaching out to the people who work in the companies which you want, and then ask them. Now what will happen is that some people may guide you, sometimes you may not even get the response, but it establishes a connection and the person gets the guidance that what I need to prepare with. Once this particular step is completed, there are different kind of approaches, the channels which they can take to get the job apart from the on-campus. There is something called as open source software, which is hosted on multiple websites, particularly on GitHub. If the person is learning development, they can start actually contributing to the open sources of and start getting noticed by the people within the industry that okay, this person has this particular set of skills and is able to contribute, which will help you establish the connection as well as recognition from the people who may be hiring. That is one part. I have seen people posting on LinkedIn also somewhat working, but I think directly reaching out to the people on the LinkedIn is the best part if you want to get the job. Then once you get a set of companies you may want to work with, you can go to their websites, and I've seen most of the companies have a job section.
Yes.
And you can start applying there. if there's a particular job, let's say on Amazon website, you can start reaching out to the people on the LinkedIn with the that this is a job I'm applying for. Can you give me a referral for it? So this is where the referral thing will work, and the person may get an interview. Getting the interview is the most difficult thing if you are applying for the off-campus.
Correct. First hurdle is you are competing with thousands of people. There are rare chance of getting your CV shortlisted, then the interview and all the process. So
Yes.
it's really
And
difficult.
correct. So that's why the referral will be the important thing here, and this is where the connections actually
Absolutely.
get into
Yes.
the. And I would say reaching out to the seniors when the college were already placed, they are also enthusiastic to help out their juniors in it. So that will be the another channel for
Correct.
them.
Correct.
And one last thing which people can try out is that once the summer holidays come, usually in the second or third year is when college expect that the person will start having applying for internship. But it's better that if you utilize all of your other vacations within the college, also start applying to startups and get the then the startup may also be keen to hiring the person if they see that they are performing.
Correct, correct. And as we talked about the startups, I'm really keen to know, and I'm sure our viewers will also be very interested. I hope some of your friends, they may be working in some or other startup. Some may have joined in their initial year just after the college. Some may have joined after gaining experience in renowned companies and may have got some better offer and then joined startups. What is the basic difference working with a well-established world-class Fortune 500 company and a startup? It may be a bootstrapped startup or maybe a well-funded startup. What is the basic difference? Maybe there are some cultural difference, the way we have discussed. But in terms of working and expectations from the senior management, maybe founders or seniors in a established company and a startup, what is the basic difference?
One thing which I have noticed it when it comes to hiring, the startups may have a general expectation that startups are focused on the tech. They expect that the person will be knowing this particular technology.
So are they open to hire freshers? Because they need someone who is just ready to work from the day they have hired that particular.
Right. So I have seen that what will happen is that the work have a different degree of complexity.
Okay.
And it is possible that if you assign something which is have very low complexity, you assign it to someone which has very high experience, even within the startup, the person may be not that much keen into working on it. They may feel that it is something which a fresher will be most benefited from. I have seen that the startups which are funded well enough, they hire freshers. And I have also seen that the startups which have just started working, they are interested in getting interns. Interns get the experience and they can pay a little less to the interns basically.
Absolutely.
So the startups are interested in that part.
And if they get some bright candidate out of that intern slot, they can always offer a full-time position.
Correct, yes. So that is the benefit which the intern may get. This is the one difference which I've seen, that where the startups are most focused on. Another thing I can feel is that in the big industries, there are a lot of checks and balances to see that whatever the change the developer is making, the scope that how much the existing system can get impacted is limited. When we talk about what could be the negative impact of this change, there are a lot of processes within the place to handle these things. But in startups, the opportunities increase, the roles increases a lot. There are different hats which you need to wear. In big companies, there may be a different person to work on the data warehouses. There could be a different person who works on the main service code. There would be a different person who handles the DevOps side of the thing. Within the startup, you are expected to do everything, and you also become that is the second difference I see. And talking about the checks and levers, they are absent in the startup. So it is possible that you make some change and it has more disastrous impact on the existing clients.
That's correct.
I have seen this happening in big tech companies. What happens is that the database is something which people cannot access directly to get the data out of. But I have seen some of my friends talking about how they can just directly go and run the queries on the database and get the data, make changes there. So this is something which big tech would be really scared of, actually
Absolutely,
getting giving that power to the one person. But in startups, since the overall team is very small, it's something which everyone has to, the job has to be shared between everyone.
Correct. And I also like to understand the psyche or thought process behind the way tech people from the tech companies change their jobs. For example, there is a trend wherein people start with a very big renowned company, and after 5 6 years they like to switch to some startup, or maybe like to start their own company. So during that course of time, you must have seen some of your seniors doing that. So I'm just trying to understand, is there a growth stagnation in this particular industry, or maybe not enough learning, not enough inspiration? What is the reason why? Because it's a high paying job, right? In global companies, Fortune 500 companies, I believe people must be getting world class working environment, right? Everything is perfectly fine. So I know there are some individual aspirations, but I have seen a lot of people they are starting their own companies, going to startups or doing some different sort of venture, even though they are currently getting like 50 lakh package or 1 CR package, even though they take such risks. So any specific thought process of people from the tech background, why they take such decisions, because of the self confidence or any other reason?
I have seen that there are three factors playing into it.
Okay.
One is the work-life balance aspect of the person when switching the job, whether it's to another company or to a startup.
And how is the work life balance in tech companies, if I talk about you before we move to?
I would say that it is more or less balanced for me. Because I am a bachelor, so there are not a lot of opportunities for. There are not of lot of responsibilities on me, so I can put as much as work I want to put into it. So that's dependent upon me. But it may not be true for the other person. Someone may want to get into a company where they may get a pay cut, but they want a much better work-life balance.
Okay.
Other person may want faster promotion, so they will go into an industry, into a company where there's like a cutthroat kind of competition, and they can put more effort and climb higher. So there's work-life balance. The second factor which I've always seen happening is the pay also, most of the time, that the pay is higher. What happens in software is that anyone, it's not necessary that the big companies will have the biggest package. It's possible that the startup is giving the biggest package, and this is where I have seen that engineers from the big companies actually jump into the startups because the packages are much higher.
Okay.
The reason is that there's a bit of risk also, and the first risk is that the startup may get closed, but apart from that, there's a risk of it's not a recognized name. Having a big name on the resume versus being into a startup is a different. So they pay a lot also. So it's not, so pay could be one thing of jumping. Another thing is, of course, the individual aspirations which a person may have. They may be interested into exploring a different sort of industry. What happens is that within a big company, the company may be working on different domains also. And a person has a freedom to switch into different team and learn a different domain.
Lots of flexibility in startups, but in established company there is a set rule. There are set rules an individual need to follow. So
right, it could be that also, that they wanting to get into that environment, or they may want to work into a different domain also. Someone may be working in e-commerce, then they may want to work in health, and someone may want to work in something more customer focused. Some may want to work in AI. So it keeps on.
So in startups there is a lot of flexibility is available.
I would say that the flexibility of working on a different thing is available more in the big companies.
Okay.
Because startup will be having a single product, and that is the domain they will be working on. But big companies have multiple products.
Absolutely, and because they may have different sort of clientele, and startup may have just couple of clients, or they are focused on one industry or one sort of product.
Yes.
That will be the constraint.
Yes.
Right. And as we talk about nowadays there is lots of talk about Gen AI and all other stuff. how Gen AI is impacting your industry and how you guys are currently just embracing all the changes. Are you guys worried that Devon and Gen AI, they may make your life easy or difficult, or it will be a challenging thing after a couple of years down the line?
So currently the Gen AI is more of a assisting thing, since it's a new thing and it's different. It using Gen AI is a different from what the processes which we are already following. So it I would say all the companies are currently trying to get their hand wet when it comes to Gen AI, understand how it could be used.
Yeah.
So currently it's in the usage like. Smaller problems which I may want to get a solution from the Gen AI. That could be one thing how it is currently in an assisting position to the software process. Now coming to whether it can replace the engineers or not, it's something which
It's too early to say.
it's too early to say. It could be given the rise is very exponential, but I think that whenever there's a new tech, it always leads to more jobs instead of cutting the jobs.
Absolutely.
Something new will always come up which the AI creates. So I'm not that much worried about. There may be a small period of chaos here when if AI comes to take over the jobs, but I strongly believe that the tech will Gen AI tech will eventually lead to more number of jobs.
And how you as an individual or well-established company, how they are using Gen AI to improve their people's efficiency, or how they are using Gen AI to just reduce the workload of their individual. Is there anything happening around right now?
So what I have seen is that big companies will be having policies in place before a person could start using AI. What is possible is that it's using it in big companies a bit different compared to what we see online students using, because you just can't go and paste your code within third party software. So it's more of a cautious thing where they expect that the person will have the enough understanding that what kind of things they're asking from the AI, as well as what kind of data they are providing.
Correct.
I have seen that for very small set of problems, AI could be used. If I have to write a particular query for the DW, or if there's some particular regex which I want to build, I can take the assistance from the AI. Yes. The assistance part is there, but the final thing has to be made by me only. This is something which a big tech regular day-to-day job I'm talking about as a software developer I have seen. Now there's another scope of using this generative AI to bring value to the customer by creating a different product altogether.
Yes.
That is something which I have seen that all the tech companies are working on by creating better chatbots one way or another. So, but only time will tell that how better we can start utilizing it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And at last, I just like to talk about your career aspirations, how fulfilling you are feeling right now, and how far you like to go. What are your long-term career aspirations?
I would say I'm definitely fulfilled when it comes to the professional life. I'm liking it here. So the challenges are always there. It's not something which becomes stale for me. There's still a lot to learn and lot of impact which can be created through the software by working in the software industry. So I'm still motivated working in it. And talking about the long-term aspirations, I'm not seeing myself moving out of the industry anytime soon. So I will be working.
That's great. And any general advice? I know we have discussed so many aspects, but if you feel during the discussion any important thing or any piece of advice you like to give to our audience, so that they can shape up their career, or maybe someone is struggling, they are in their first or second year of job and they are now realizing they are not at the right place. Any advice from your end so that they can get some different perspective or the way they are looking at their current situation?
One thing which have always helped me is reaching out to the seniors of my
Seek help.
Yes, seek help from the seniors of my own college, because there would be people who have gone through the same process as me, and there would be people having the same mindset as me also. So it's always better to seek help from the seniors from our colleges.
Okay, that's great. And I know this is not the way generally podcast ends. Every time host asks certain questions to the guests, they answer. But this time I like to turn it around. And if you have any question in your mind for me, maybe any personal, any professional, or related to anything, feel free to ask. I will try my best to give you some answer for that.
How is your experience if you have worked with the software developers during your journey? How has been your, what is the problem which you see working with them?
I haven't worked with any software engineer as such, but I worked directly or indirectly also with tech companies, the companies who develop softwares or provide any sort of services. I worked that sort of clients both based in India and across the globe. And one particular challenge I would say while working with those companies, because there are a set number of guidelines and processes, lot many processes are being followed in tech companies, which is for good because they are safeguarding their client's interest. But at times when there is some sort of time constraint while working with some of the tech companies, personally I felt that they are taking a lot of time in terms of providing some solution because they have their own sprint, they have their agile way of working, just refining the things. So at times it I felt like very, it's not very efficient process. But eventually when we get the refined product and it's a scalable product, it's a reliable product, then we realize that the time they have taken is for the greater good. So initially, maybe someone's experience while working with software engineers or companies who manufacture, develop those softwares may be different, but eventually when they get the right product, their perspective will change. So that is my experience, that initially I was in a different tangent, but at last I was feeling really pleased while getting whatever services and output I got from the company. So overall, my experience is pretty good while working with software engineers. I really feel that everyone must have liked the ideas, suggestions our guest has given. And in case we have missed any of the important point, anyone like to any question, feel free to drop your comments and we will try to address some of the questions from our end. If there are some technical questions, we will again involve Ujjwal or maybe arrange a different part 2 discussion and answer your queries. Thank you so much for watching this podcast. Thank you.